So, welcome to Adventures in Reader Marriage. This time we're doing the Grizzly Peak Trail. We'll give you some history behind it. It's quite interesting. It's only one subject, but it is quite interesting how it got its name. And we'll catch you guys just up the hill a little bit and give you some more videos. Just so you know, we're not alone. We actually have two other people that are crazy or brave enough to be with us on this adventure. This is Joe and J. Faye Jackson, and they are joining us on this adventure. Okay, so we're going to show you the big old clearing we found right out there. It goes a long ways back out there. It's a nice little clearing. And we'll go back to normal size. Anyway, so the whole story about Grizzly Peak starts in 1855, a long time ago. Back then, this place was a favorite place for grizzly bears, kind of the favorite haunt, as they called it. And they had an Indian war back then between the settlers and the Indians, and it was a pretty big deal, I guess, because the settlers were in constant danger of attack. And back then, Henry Chapman and a whole bunch of the Wells family, Erastus and Joe being one of them, another one being called Froggy. And anyways, they were all part of a militia group, and they were out there, and they noticed a signal fire from an Indian camp at Boone Ranch, which is now Mickelson Ranch. And so they were up all night watching that, especially Erastus. He's the one that noticed it, and he was vigilant the whole night, and I don't think anybody really got any sleep that night. And they decided in the morning to go hunt bear. And that is where the problem started. But I'll tell you a little bit more later. I'll walk down the trail a little bit, show you the trail. Now that we're at the top. I think we're at the top. Looks like we're going to hit another clearing here in a second. The climb coming up is a good climb. I'm actually exhausted from it.
Me too. Feel good to rest a minute.
This actually goes in that clearing we're showing you. It's still part of the clearing. And I do see our good old friend poison oak out here. So if you're allergic to poison oak, be careful.
'Tis the season.
Yep. Okay, now we'll catch up with the other two down the trail a little bit more and show you more then. So we're about 1.6 miles in on the trail according to my watch. Now, whether that's entirely accurate, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing it is. So I guess I can tell you a little bit more. Turns out that Eustace, Joe Wells, and Henry Chapman, they decided to go bear hunting, like I mentioned. And they were walking along up here, and they found what appeared to be tracks of about 5 to 6 bears, all grizzlies. And so they decided to break up and divide and go chasing after these bears. And I guess they said that Eustace followed the creek in, and Joe went south of that and went in, and then Henry Chapman, he actually went right up the middle, and he as he was going up there, he thought he saw something big and bushy. So he snuck through the bushes. A little more later. So anyways, Henry saw, as he looked through the bushes, of the brush, he saw two older grizzly bears with two young cubs, and they were eating the berries. And so that is where Henry's trouble began, and he knew it. He said that, in a later document later, that he couldn't find the other two, the two brothers, so he was very nervous about it, but you know, it didn't stop him. And I'll tell you the rest a little bit later. So here's another part of the trail. Look at that view out there. I wonder how much further I should go out. And that is max on this camera. So anyways, a little bit more of the story. So good old buddy Henry here, he sees those four bears, you know, two cubs and two older ones as he described it. And he sees them, nobody around to help him, to assist him, but he says, not really says out loud as far as I can tell, but he goes ahead and shoots one in the back. The bear drops. The other one takes off running, and the two cubs flee. But anyways, what I can tell you at this point, and I'm going to suspend the story here, is that he was not alone. There was more of them. So in continuation of the story, he was not alone, like I said, and then there was another bear that popped out and came charging by. It didn't come after him. It was just attempting to escape like the others, but he shot it once while it was running by, and then he saw it fall to the ground, roll around, and then come back up. And this is some more of the view that we get from right here. But the one thing he did not expect was the bear that he had shot first, the original one that he thought was dead, to get up and come charging at him. Now, I'm not a plant guy, but I was told that these are elderberries, and I'm going to go with that. I'm going to run with it. If you can see the elderberries on this elderberry tree. I'm not sure if they're ripe yet. Like I said, I don't know much about them. I've heard they taste like blackberries or similar. But this place is surrounded by elderberry trees. And during the right time of year, I came up here one time and people were picking them, just going nuts over them. It was fun to watch. They weren't nuts in an aggressive, angry way. They were just really wanting their elderberries. So, more on the way. And I'd also like to take this moment, because I always forget to do this, to thank the Southern Oregon Historical Society, because they helped me out a lot with the research. In fact, I couldn't do it without them, because Google doesn't really know much. And so they have a nice little website. You can go up there and see them. They're right in the middle of Medford. Can't miss them, actually. I believe they're on the corner of 6th and Riverside. Really good people, really fun to talk to, and without history, we wouldn't have a future. So here's just another view. I guess this is not the peak. The peak is right up here. That's where we'll end up doing the rest of the story. But anyhow, this is the view we get from here. If we go down across, I don't even know where that is. I mean, I know that's got to be like Talent, or I know it's not Ashland. Well, it's hard to tell. This is not quite the peak, though. Yeah, that's right up here. It's a beautiful view. so far he walked across this. We didn't really film it because, or record it I guess is now the new technical term, because it would be really bumpy to do so. And I don't think you guys would appreciate going around for the jarring ride. But we'll go up a little bit this way, kind of show you the trail. So where did I leave off at? I think I left off where he just shot that last bear. It tumbled and rolled, and then the one he thought was dead woke up. And when it woke up, it came charging at him. Now, when it came charging at him, he actually made a run for it. So he said that he ran to a tree, and he was going back and forth around the tree, kind of, playing with the bear. Bear was trying to go one side to go the other. He did that for a little while, but of course that wouldn't last very long. And so he went to run for another tree, and that bear caught up with him while he's running for the other tree, and happened to run his claw across the top of his head and got the scalp back from what it sounds like. More to follow. Some more of this awesome terrain. It just keeps you guessing all the time. There's definitely enough shale here you could actually pave this. That's a good foundation. Go right through here. We have seen poison oak, but I really haven't seen a lot on the trail, which is good. But this is probably the Amazon jungle part of the trail. Okay, almost to the top. The wind is pretty ferocious here. And if I can zoom in, what mountain is that? It's to the south of us. It's got lots of snow. It can only be one of them. So when we get to the top, I'll tell the rest of the story, and it'll probably be the end of the video. Okay, we decided to film this in the middle because this is a climb. If you hear me and it sounds like I'm breathing heavy, it's because I am. I'm actually heavier than anybody else in the group. I weigh about 200 pounds, and my backpack probably weighs somewhere between 5 to 800 pounds. Or at least it seems like it. More of the view. It looks like the path gets better. Good old city of Ashland. Pause.
Okay.
So where I left So where I left off was where he just got hit in the head by the bear over the top of his head. So he heard from an Indian, according to his sister. Now his sister's story is funny. His sister must have had one heck of a sense of humor, because I love her story about it better than all the other ones. But what she said was that her brother Henry had heard from an Indian that if a bear attacks you, to play dead. And her words were that bear had never heard that bears do not molest the dead, because he bit her brother in the loin, which I thought was absolutely funny. Now, his account was the bear knocked him down and bit him, and he screamed, which is the same account the sister has about him screaming. And apparently, the two brothers, Joe and Erastus, which I want to say Eustace, Joe and Erastus, had heard him and came running, but they thought that he was chasing Indians when they saw him running from the bear. So they finally got caught up with him, and he yelled bear, and Erastus went behind some bushes and hid, and Joe climbed up a stump that was about 10 feet tall. So they weren't very good at helping him at that moment. And then when they finally came to their senses and came down, they both had pistols tied to their body. And apparently they got too excited and they got the pistols too tight wrapped up on the string there, and they had trouble getting them. And then finally Joe just grabbed the pistol, pointed it, and squeezed it when it was up against his body. And he got the bear in the back, snapping his backbone. And then he shot one more time and got the bear behind the neck, in the neck, and it killed the bear. And then Erastus jumped out of the bushes, and I guess he threw a few more rounds in there just, out of anger or for good sake. I have no idea. But anyways, that's kind of a funny part of it. So at that point they went over, and Henry was, thinking he was dead. He thought because he got his neck bit and scratched, that he thought that his jugular had been caught, so he was pretty sure he was a goner. Sister said that he said he would never see his family and Kentucky again. But the other side just says that he thought he was a goner. So good old Erastus picked him up on his shoulders and was carrying him. And as he was carrying him, going down the trail, going back to the camp, Joe looked at him and said, "Oh, he's dead." So Erastus quit carrying him and threw him down the ground on his belly, face first. And the shock actually woke Henry up, and Henry said, "Oh, I'm not dead yet." And so they laid there for a little while, and about that time, Henry finally figured out that his jugular had not been severed, so he was okay. He might have a chance to live, but he was tore up in all kinds of bad ways. And I'm not going to mention it on YouTube, but you go to the Historical Society, they got all kinds of stories on it, and they will direct you towards great information about this. So I recommend the Historical Society for any information. It actually is a pretty intense story, and they've got other bear attacks too in the Southern Oregon if you're interested in that kind of thing. But anyways, so the other side of the story that has also been told is that they put him on a horse, and as the horse was walking back to the camp, they created kind of a CPR thing and brought him back to life. Now that's two different stories that kind of conflict, but Henry's own words were that he got thrown down face first, and he told him he's not dead. So they waited around, and they ended up carrying him out, and they met up with some other guys in the camp, and they took him back to, they called it Daddy Wells' house, and Daddy Wells took care of him. He spent 6 weeks in bed, but it took him a whole year to heal. And so that is how Grizzly Peak got its name. That concludes our video, and we'd like to thank you for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, please like and subscribe. Thank you for Joe and J.F. Jackson for coming along. And we were stuck behind them because they were running off and leaving us. But like I said, my backpack weighed at least between 500 to 800 pounds, so that slowed me down. So anyways, thank you again. Like and subscribe, because we don't have enough subscribers yet to even look at, really. So, have a good day.